But when I came home on my 48-hour leave, I never expected to wind up in a shipwreck. It was September 1941, and I was due to go home for my very first leave. And I was stationed in London at Chiswick, and I was on the wireless operating course at the time. And I had to leave the college at 4 o'clock to get down to Portsmouth to catch the last boat across to the Isle of Wight. And things went wrong. We had an officer who wanted us to go to a meeting. He wouldn't listen to anyone, any reason why we couldn't go. And because of this meeting, I was too late when I got down to catch the last boat across. And then had to get a later train down because we had to stop. It was a terrible journey. It was one of what we call the interminable journeys where you stopped every station. And at that time, there were loads of little stations all the way up from Waterloo to Portsmouth. And that was why it took such a long time. You couldn't possibly catch any boat when before you got there. When we got to Portsmouth, normally the train came right through to Portsmouth harbour. But this night, it stopped at the town station. And there was me. It was all pitch dark because we had blackout. And I had to walk from the town station to the harbour, all on my own, and I didn't know my way. And I thought, what the devil am I going to do? So in our compartment, there were some sailors and soldiers and that going to the barracks. And there was an elderly sailor there, and he said he was going to the barracks, and he offered to take me to the harbour, and I was okay. But I thought that took a lot of doing, going in the pitch dark like that. So I had to wait in Portsmouth Harbour up until 4 o'clock the next morning so that we could go across to the island. So I was put into a saloon, and then eventually the boat started and I left the saloon and went out to meet some of the other people that were on the boat. And we were stood by the engine room. I remember we stood by the engine room talking, and all of a sudden there was just as we got outside of the harbour, there was a loud explosion. Well, we were just, when it happened, we were sort of thrown onto the floor with the explosion, and some of the crew came in and helped us up. I was bashed about a bit because a pipe fell down and hit me across the nose, and I had oil for years afterwards, oil in the crease of my nose and oil in my neck, and that was from this pipe from the engine room that fell across me. We all looked at each other and wondered what had happened, and then some of the crew came in and said that we'd either struck a mine or we'd hit a torpedo. No one knew what had happened, but he said the ship had broken into half. And then they took us out, said, let's go see what's happening, come with us, all keep together. And we followed them and we went to where the lifeboats were, and then they said that we could get into the lifeboats and they'd take it from there. Well, eventually we waited till they came. They found out something had happened from Portsmouth, naturally, and they came out to collect us from Portsmouth in the motor torpedo boats. And we were sitting waiting for them in the lifeboats. And then eventually they took us back to Portsmouth, and we waited in the cafe, the canteen on the front. Well, there were some boats that were going backwards and forwards and checking to make sure there were no more bombs around or anything like that. So we discovered afterwards that the half that we were on, luckily, it stuck on a sandbank. So we weren't going anywhere, hopefully, but the other half had, when the explosion came, had just gone straight down to the bottom of the sea. And it was devastating to hear that everybody that had been on that part of the ship had been drowned. There's nothing anyone could do. afterwards, that boat was still sticking up out of the sea every time you went over when I used to go home on leave. And it was stuck on the sandbank still. And people used to comment and say, that boat went down, half of that boat went down to the bottom. And I used to stand there and listen to them. And I often used to say, yeah, I was on it, but I never did. But it was a traumatic appearance.